just froze on me for a minute there. You had me worried.
Me too. How
Well,
are you doing?
I am so great. Welcome to If These Walls Could Talk. I am Wendy Stuart,
I'm Tym Moss.
and we are here for you today. We've got a great show coming up. I can't believe we're only 2 weeks into January because
Right?
I'm here at Pangea, and I said to one of the owners, Steven, I can't believe it's just 2 weeks. It feels like 2 months. It feels like
Right?
how weird is that? Why is that happening? Is it the news? Is it
Intentional, yeah.
It's intentional. It's
Mhm.
intentional. We're like on fast forward here, which is crazy. But there's also been like a lot of amazing things in the last 2
Mhm.
months, which is great. I went to see a wonderful show at Otto's Shrunken Head the other night with
Yeah.
Laurie Towers and John Pietero. She plays bass. He does spoken word. They are phenomenal. And then, of course, the Ruminators were there. If you haven't caught these two women, they've been on the show. They're hilarious. They
Yeah,
are
they're great.
Oh my God. They have, their songs like Emo Man. My God, how many of us have labeled somebody that, but they wrote this song about it. Like you, Tim, I try and make everything about building community, bringing in all the great
Yep.
stuff around us because Lord knows we need everything right now. So I want to call out a few upcoming fabulous things
Mhm.
besides my birthday here at Pangea on
Yes.
Friday at 8:30. The Boxers show, the Blonde Bombshell birthday show will be this Saturday, the 17th. Show is 7:30, doors at 6:30. We are celebrating my birthday, and we have 15 performers all doing songs about anyone who was blonde. That's great, right? You didn't say natural blonde because Lord knows I'm not either. And, and then Tim and I are very excited. We are nominated for a Glam Award for this show.
Yep.
If Walls Could Talk, we will be at the Glam Awards on a Monday night. I think
Mhm.
doors for that open at like 8 and the show's at 9. Not for nothing. Even if I weren't nominated, I go to that because it's how inspirational is that show, Tim?
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean,
It-
the show itself, the presentation and the artistry, and then you've got the audience, which is just the most glamorous audience you're gonna see all year.
And you know what blows me away? Glamorous audience, right? A lot of these are kids that are working 2
Yeah.
and 3 jobs,
Mhm.
designing their own clothes. They haven't yet made it. You're not going to
Right.
see them anywhere. They are so turned out for this.
But for those of you that don't know, the Glam Awards is for the drag community. So everybody, I mean, Maybelline can put their kids through college that night. Oh.
I don't know. Some of our drag performers are using much higher end
Yeah,
stuff.
true.
And I know that because I always hit them up for the best foundation because I figure if it can cover 5 o'clock shadow, it can make me look flawless. There you go. How is life treating you these days, Tim?
Good, good. I was just thinking, I honestly, I don't think I went to one event this week, but I was going nonstop because I'm in the final stages of Project Transcend, which
Yes.
is the art project that I've been working on. It was a 12-week process. And we just finished that. We just finished it, and I'm in negotiations right now with several different places for exhibit space and art installations. So
Great.
yeah,
Great.
it's all good. All
I
good.
hope you can find space at the LGBTQ Center. I don't know that that's
one
possible.
possibility. Yeah,
Wouldn't that be like an incredible place to have it?
that
So
would be. That absolutely would be. Yes.
I love it down there. So if anyone's watching and they have any suggestions for space,
Yeah.
please
Hit me up.
totally reach out to us. For those of you who also watch my other show at 7 tonight, TriVersity Talk on Talk 4 TV. It's nationwide. We are talking tonight about prostate cancer in the LGBTQ community. It's really on the rise. 1 out of every 8 people in all communities. And you know what? I call it the elephant in the room. we have to like take it out and talk about it. People don't want to talk about it. It's still, if we don't share this information right with one another, then no one's going to get helped. And as you know, Tim and I were all about spreading the word, lifting people up. So yeah, that's us. So our guest today, I was lucky enough to meet at the Black Bear Film Festival in Milford, Pennsylvania. They show so many great documentaries there. And her film, of course, spoke to me in particular. It's called Beyond the Gaze, Julie Campbell's swimsuit issue. You'll recognize in this documentary Tyra Banks,
Cheryl,
right? We all remember Cheryl. Stacey Williams, all the great Paulina Porizkova. These were all the girls that were coming up when I started modeling. And God, I'm still doing it. And I was never famous. I am not a supermodel, but I certainly. Yeah. Thank you, Tim. I love you. That's why you and I work so well together. I'm not a supermodel yet, but you know what? I remember those times, and I just remember, my God, I idolized those women. And here today is the amazing award-winning documentarian who created this film, amongst others. I just love what she has to say. Please welcome Jill Campbell.
Yay!
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me and for the amazing introduction. I love being at Black Bear, and we won Best Documentary Film at that festival. So I love it even more. And it was a great festival. So.
Right. It was a great festival. And believe it or not, because I was doing all the interviews at that festival, I love doing that. But the downside is I don't get to see a lot of the films because I have to grab the filmmakers when I can get them. So I was really happy to pre-screen your this film is wonderful on so many levels. Yeah. And from you personally, your intention from the beginning to the way you ended the film and what happened in between, did it change in the process of making this film?
Right.
Yeah, it really changed because, as you get to know a subject, the film changes. I mean, I knew there would be interest because of Julie's career and all the models she discovered and worked with, and just what Sports Illustrated swimsuit meant in American society, the positives, the negatives, the controversy, the everything that surrounded it. But, Julie, as we kind of mentioned before the interview, is such an intimate, authentic human being. And I think that each documentary takes it really takes on the personality of the person you're filming. And if you kind of slow down and instinctually listen to what that's telling you, I think that, you really can get to the essence of what you're trying to say.
Right.
That's my goal, is for it to really look and feel like that person.
Well, it completely did, but there were so many messages in that film, because those of us that remember the 80s and 90s, not that Tim and I would, no, I'm just joking. Well, of course we remember.
Me neither. I don't know that time.
None of us remember, but we remember what it was like. And even the word supermodel. And I remember, I think it was Linda Evangelista said, I won't get out of bed for less than $10,000 a day. She was way different than me. If they were paying me $250, I was there. But we remember the whole onslaught of the supermodels, bigger than life. And this was all before Me Too. How much do you think the Times were supporting that way of looking at women?
Well, I mean, that's why the film is called Beyond the Gaze, because it's beyond, not the GAYS. Yeah, that's the next film. But the GAZE, because, we're looking beyond the male gaze. And in the 1960s, when this came out, it was the male gaze that kind of objectified these women.
Yeah.
But I wanted to show, like, Julie's goal was not to objectify women. And these amazing models who are now powerhouses in industry, intelligent billionaires, millionaires, whatever, you know, they weren't there to be in Playboy. You know, it was their job. And what was beautiful is like Julie was just creating these gorgeous works of art. And when you go back and you look at the photos from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s that she art directed, you see that. And so things have changed because, I mean, it's funny because I still get like, oh, you're doing the film on Sports Illustrated. That's horrible for women. That's, you know,
wow.
Yeah, I get eye rolls from certain people and I'm like, well, watch the film because we kind of really dissect that point of view and give you a new lens to view this in.
Well, yeah,
let's back up. Can we back up a little bit and please tell everybody who Julie is, and because not everybody knows who we're referring to, and her what she did, what she contributed.
So Julie Campbell, who's actually my mother-in-law, was the founding editor of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. She began her career at Sports Illustrated in 1958 as a fashion editor. So she would do, you know, what to wear on the ski slopes, what ladies wear to football games. And then in 1964, her editor, Andre Laguerre, wanted something to get readers, you know, to read the magazine in January and February because they didn't have the Super Bowl in February back then.
Right.
And so he was like, let's put a woman in a bathing suit at a resort. So he gave Julie that assignment. And
do you know what her original reaction was when they gave her that assignment? Was she kind of like, or was she more like, let me see what I can do?
She was excited because you're thinking from the lens of like 1963.
Right.
She's a fashion editor. This is her job. He's saying it's a possible cover, which is what she's been working for. There's women appearing in bathing suits in every other magazine, Vogue. You know, it was the swinging 60s.
And this was probably one of the more male-dominated magazines.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So her
at the time.
So I don't think she realized initially the conflict and the controversy, you know, but she did say, okay, this is a sports magazine. I need sporty girls. I need women doing sports. I need women that are not skinny, twiggy models. I want the all-American woman. Yeah. And so that was like, and also she was like, I'm going to use only sports photographers. So we're in a sports magazine. Let's make this sporty. Let's, you know, let's shoot women playing volleyball. Let's shoot women in bathing suits in where you find them, not just, you know, to show what their bodies look like.
Right.
So I think she was, you know, when the issue came out, the controversy was there immediately. And, but you're also there's so many different degrees of feminism and so many different degrees of women in the media. And, you know, now I kind of feel like when you put a woman down for doing that, you know, I question whether that's sexist because, you know, as women, why can't, if that's what you choose to model yourself in a bathing suit for a magazine, that's your choice. And maybe there needs to be an adjustment in how that's perceived by the reader. It's, you know, and they should think about how they're perceiving these ladies.
Well, I think it's important to point out, and Julie says this in the film, it wasn't to objectify them. She set these shots up, and because I was married to a fashion photographer, the late Alan Kaplan, who often did objectify women, I have to say, but Julie had them in bathing suits. They were beautifully shot, right? Or they were doing something athletic. It was not cheesy. And she often went up against the other male editors at the magazine. And this is important to say, where it wasn't cheesy enough for them. And she stood her ground. You know, she really was, I think, a feminist pioneer.
Yeah,
I agree. And, you know, I think that's why I think women are everyone's resonating to the story, but it's really interesting how working women are resonating, how younger women are, because she just was strong enough. And I go into this in the film a little bit, like she came from like a strong value. Her parents had very strong core values, and she was, out of any woman I've ever met, Julie had no esteem issues. She did not have a low self-esteem.
Right.
She was very confident. So she really figured out how to navigate the halls of Sports Illustrated in the 1960s. And
Amazing.
can you imagine what those halls were? They were male editors, jocks, football players. Like it was Mad Men on steroids.
Yeah,
That's what she dealt with at a daily,
Absolutely. It would be like, oh, hello, doll, get me some coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like I have photos that I love these photos that are in the film of, the secretary pool sat outside the offices of the men. The secretaries were not allowed in, and just the photos you see of just the testosterone, and Julie stood her ground and kept it from being Playboy, and looked at it with taste, and she was definitely there was a fine line, and she said sometimes you go a little bit over the line, but that's just being sexy and fun, and if the model's okay with it, that's all right. And I think that's why the magazine was successful.
Right.
But I'm sure she probably had no idea of the impact that swimsuit edition would have on Sports Illustrated and on the country, to the point where it was a coveted cover.
It was
every woman, and so many of the women and models around the country or around the globe would love to have been the Sports Illustrated model on the cover.
Yeah, I love that, because I found all the letters from all these women that would write to her and want to be in the issue. And it's when you're doing a documentary, it's frustrating because you can only, God forbid you make it too long and people just get really mad at you. So like I have so much that I couldn't put in, but these letters are they're brilliant, and they're women from all around the country, and all shapes and sizes, and that's another thing too, is like Julie was also dealt with like institutional racism at that time. And from the beginning, and I found this in her photos, because from the time she started, she had a diverse group of women that she hired, but a lot of these women didn't make it into the pages. So she would work with them. And, I just discovered yesterday, because this is very much in the film, because Tyra Banks was the first Black woman on the cover in 1996. But the first African-American woman in the issue was not until 1980. So she had women that were Puerto Rican, from the islands, and different women, different ethnicities, and she says in the film that she fought for that her whole career. And she got responses like, that's not our reader's not interested in that.
Amazing.
So there's so much that she fought for. And then when you also see her vilified, that's why when I do get those comments, I'm just like, please just watch the film. Watch the film before you judge.
I think that's really the important thing, because if you think to where all the big fashion campaigns are now, and Tim, you see those too, they're really making it a point, to use all different ethnicities. And I will share this with both of you, something I know, because my friend has been a scout with Ford for years. He would always find beautiful Black women, and he was told, oh, they're too Black. Now it's just the opposite. They want you, for their brand, to be very Black. Lots of African models are working now. So we have changed for the better in many ways, But then there are also ways that we have gone back now, when we look at what's in the news and terminologies that people use. Julie was way ahead of her time. And
Absolutely.
I want to shout that out here. She deserves to be credited for laying the groundwork, I believe, in the fashion industry, for setting the world straight on the supermodel becoming that word branding. I remember branding didn't even exist. When you talked about brand, it was a cereal box. I'm going to have that brand of cereal. Branding became something now that human beings can take on for what they do, what they produce, who they are as a product. She created that single-handedly.
She really did. And I'm like, can you imagine if social media was around at that time?
Oh,
I mean, thank God it wasn't. But Julie really was an original influencer. She would have 10 million followers. She set the stage and tone for what was to come. And then, and the film, it follows all of these threads and all of these themes. And then we look at MJ Day, who is post Me Too, who's hiring diverse women, put Lena Bloom on the cover as the first trans model, which is amazing. And also has worked with All Shapes and Sizes, where Julie also fought for that as well. Like Ashley Montana, Julie loved and was in so many issues.
Ashley was so crazy. I knew her. I remember my husband going out on a location shoot with her. They had the top down in the car, and the next thing he knew, Ashley, who was very well endowed, had her shirt off, and she was standing up in the car with her boobs flapping and waving her hands. I remember him telling me that.
You know what? There's also a free the nipple component in the film. And I'm all for it, because I'm like, again, if we want to be free and show our boobs, that's our choice.
I agree. It's nature.
It's nature.
That's the climax, the midpoint of the film is you work to 1978 when Cheryl Tiegs appeared in the white fishnet suit.
That was groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking, because the girl next door, you could see the girl next door's nipples in a magazine. And that really, the controversy of that really made the magazine, everyone knew about the magazine. But after that, it just was on fire. Yeah. So we really go into a deep examination of all of that. And Cheryl's in the film and talks about it. And she's like, I didn't even like the suit. That's not one of my favorite shots. And it wasn't, there's many more beautiful shots of Cheryl, but
of course,
and I don't think Julie again realized what that was going to do. It was a very small shot in the middle of the magazine. And I think she was nervous about it.
Sure.
But also went for it.
I like that.
So your own background was so interesting to me. I know that Julie was your mother-in-law, so you had that connection, but you come from like a theatrical the Fringe Festival, fashion and that whole, it's about as far away. Well, it was about as far away as you could get from that kind of thing. How did you evolve into a documentary filmmaker?
So, I was a theater major in school, and one of my first jobs was at the Public Theater. I was a production assistant on Taming of the Shrew with Morgan Freeman and Tracy Ullman and Helen Hunt. And, I remember my favorite memory was bringing Morgan to the Second Avenue Deli. And he was such a gentleman. And so I was interested in producing. I was a playwright. I was a produced playwright. So I learned story structure and how to tell a story. And then I was always writing screenplays and writing. And then how I got into documentary, I was a film minor, theater major. And it's a long story, but I got a job with an abstract expressionist artist in New York City. And his girlfriend
was serious. Who was it?
His name was Julian Lethbridge, and his girlfriend was Ann Bass. The society,
heavy money.
heavy money. And
Heavy
she was directing a documentary on this Cambodian dancer that she had discovered in Cambodia, brought to New York City, and he auditioned for the New York City Ballet, got in, and she became his patron, and we made a film about it. And she brought me in because I was working for Julian, and I was, a producer already. So I came on as a producer. I worked for that film for 6 years. I kind of learned the ropes about documentary, and I got addicted to the form because I was able to incorporate everything I learned in theater and storytelling into the documentary art form. And it's all about figuring us out as people in society and helping us all just get through this life that is at times challenging, at times beautiful. And I just feel like when you share a story of what one person is going through, it helps others. It just helps us make our way, especially people that are doing groundbreaking things like Julie. So I ended up working on many films after that. And I actually went back to Hunter and got my master's in documentary. In my 40s, because I there were things I didn't know. There were things I learned on the job.
Right.
And there were skills I really wanted to know. And I found I was being mansplained to a lot on set.
Imagine that. Right.
Imagine that. And it really bothered me. Like I wanted to know what this lens was, what the frame rate was. And it just gave me confidence. It was it was just a great experience. And from there I directed the first doc of note was on Kenny Anderson, the basketball player. It was called Mr. Chibbs. It premiered at Doc NYC in 2016. And so this is my third feature, and I'm really proud of it. And you learn with each one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, before we get too far away from Beyond the Gaze, we do have a clip. We do have a trailer.
Great.
So let's take a look at Jill Campbell's Beyond the Gaze.
Yes.
I always worked with the same components. Sky, sun, sand, girl, swimsuit. How did I get started at Sports Illustrated? Oh my God, that seems like 1,000 years ago.
Oh, she looks cute in her bathing suit.
No, not a picture of her bum, but a picture where you see her bum.
Now, get all the now feminist women asking me.
Okay.
And I'm already going straight to hell.
It wasn't easy working as a woman in Time 8.
It was run by men for men.
When I showed the pictures, I would have the managing editor there, and he could salivate while he looked at them. Sometimes I'd want to do this.
It was a world that didn't feel safe, and I know I would not have stayed if not for Julie.
I wasn't into the obviously sexy, which made it even sexier.
She wasn't looking for perfection. She was looking for energy.
I did not see myself as the all-American girl, but Julie did.
This is her putting a black girl and a white girl together and saying, what America, what?
She didn't want to objectify women. She wanted to make them people.
They wanted the sexiest pictures. I would take them out so they never even see them.
This is what we have been given as our powers, and then we are shamed for using them. Women will be shamed for everything, won't they?
You never seen a nipple before?
Well, the Madonna whore thing is totally patriarchal, right? They don't control what beauty is. We do now.
Right. It's something that Julie actually set in motion long ago.
We are all beautiful human beings, so take a picture of it.
Life is all too short. It comes, stays, it goes.
Make a wish.
She never really got the credit that she deserved.
Hi, Jules.
We were just talking about how much you loved us and made us feel beautiful and strong.
She changed my life.
One of my babies, I am. I never had a boring life. A lot of struggles. But if you survive them, you're stronger.
Yes.
Incredible. mean, her authenticity shows through. The fact that the models that are featured in the film are such powerhouses, and you were able to get all of them. The interviews with them were really, I had tears in my eyes in some of them. It's obvious how much Rashumba loved her, Paulina, you know, and these are women that are so successful nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I was blown away. And, you know, what happened was we started filming with Julie at her farmhouse during the pandemic when she was in her 90s. Right. And we just kind of knew we had to capture these last years of her. And Kathy Ireland used to call every week. They were lifelong friends. Kathy is, you know, a consulting producer on the film. And basically one weekend she called and we had the camera on Julie and we're filming as she's talking to Kathy. And Julie's like, they're filming me. And Kathy's like, what? Who's filming you? And Julie said, you know, Jill is doing a documentary on me. And, you know, I was nervous. I was hoping that Kathy would be okay with it because, you know, they're all very protective of Julie as well. And I got on the phone with Kathy. I told her what I was doing. She was so supportive. Oh my God. She had my back from the moment. I love her. She's family. And I called her afterwards. She was the first model I got to hop on board and interview with me. And it's hard to call them models. They're women, you know, like it's, to me, it's, I have I try to like even figure out what that word model means. Cause to me, you know, they're women. And so anyway, so Kathy was the first, and then she was almost like our tent pole. And once Kathy was on board, then Carol Alt, who's also a consulting producer, would call Julie too. She came on board. She came out, and the scene where she visits Julie at her house. And then Carol was in touch with Rashumba, which I was so happy because Julie used to talk about Rashumba, all of these women all the time. Love Rashumba. Rashumba has been been with me at like every festival, so supportive, so part of this process. And Carol too, and Kathy. I mean, they've all come out. And then everybody came on board. Elle McPherson also called Julie all the time. They were super close. I mean, she really was a role model and a mother figure because these ladies met Julie they were in their late teens when they met her. They were young.
Yeah.
And she protected them.
Mother. She was like a mother to them.
And again, at that time of the patriarchal mentality, like who was it? Was that Kathy Ireland or one of them had said that I didn't feel safe, and she made me feel safe. Like she was kind of their protector, their mother lion, their, you know, that and they enjoyed what they were doing. So they were very proud of what they were doing, even though men in general probably did not understand everything that they were going through. They just saw the outside. They just saw the tintillating body.
That is such a good point, because when you really put that time into context, like I really appreciate how Me Too really helped us as women, because people don't really know. And I'm sure we've all been through it. Like, you know, you get your ass pinched. Sorry, I don't know if I could say that.
You can say worse than that on here. Yeah.
You know, you were anytime back then, if you were a pretty woman or a pretty guy, or both sides, it was pure sexual exploitation in so many of these situations. And Stacey Williams talks about the stories that she endured during that time of men exposing themselves. And she even she's on a press tour about how she met Jeffrey Epstein through Donald Trump during that time. And I mean, Jeffrey Epstein was her boyfriend, and Donald Trump like roped her during that time. It was like all this crazy stuff. Yeah. And, you know, now, I mean, I'm sure it still goes on, of course, but there's an awareness to it, especially in business. Like, I don't think it goes on as much in business because it can't. Like,
people are too afraid that they're going to get called out on it now. I mean, you can be nailed really badly and blow up everything. I will say the photographers like Walter Ios, he was, these are the pros.
Oh, yes.
Guys that were really well known in the industry that treated the girls with respect. But
she wouldn't work with any photographer that didn't.
Point.
They would not come on a 3-week shoot with her. And that's why she loved Walter. And she loved, John Zimmerman and Robert Hunsinger. They were.
I worked with Robert. I shot Newport with Robert. I loved Robert. These were all I have to bring that up too. There was a whole slew of very legitimate, amazingly talented photographers that treated everyone with utmost respect. But then there were some other named photographers who shall remain unnamed.
Yes.
Stuff has come out about them over the years that were just awful, absolutely awful.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, but Julie also ran that, she saw everything, nothing. And she was like that in life. You couldn't get away with anything. She knew everything that was going on her sets, on location. And the women did feel protected and would go back and shoot with her every year and love shooting with her because they were a family. And she was Mama Bear, as Tyra Banks mentions her on that set. She was no one was misbehaving on Julie's set because she was also Steel. She was a tourist. She was
right.
Yeah. Like she
knew what was going on
exactly
at the time. And she protected these girls and also introduced them and probably taught them behind the scenes, look out for this and look out for that.
Yeah, right.
Like this, expect this to happen. Like she probably educated them because otherwise that's why everyone is still so in admiration of her and still friends with her.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's why they're on the film, and it's just beautiful. I think as a woman, as a career woman, at the end of your career, you're in your 90s and your colleagues come back to celebrate you. And
amazing. Right.
That's really what the film's about. And it's also about, women lifting other women up and, and just supporting each other.
I'm curious, Jill, how did, you touch on it a bit in the film, but how did Julie handle it as the worm started to turn when she was kind of pushed out of Sports Illustrated? And then I think there was a model that you had in the film that actually ended up forming an organization against this kind of thing. Could you touch on that just a little bit?
Yeah. So, first are you talking about Ann Simonton?
Ann Simonton was the person,
yeah. So Ann,
Media Watch, Ann Simonton,
Media
Watch,
just really turned against objectification. And it's really interesting with Anne because I really wanted her in the film. And she was really anti-Sports Illustrated. She was on the cover. She was in the early Sports Illustrated. Sure. And then she had some traumatic events in her life, but I don't think, and just kind of turned against exploiting women in the media. Right. And which is a very fair fight. Women are not meat. We're, there are ways that women are portrayed that, provoke certain people. And that's a very fair argument. And so Anne, she wouldn't be in the film. But we had, we needed to tell her story to show the other side to it.
Yeah.
But I just got an email from her. She watched the film and loved it.
Good.
And
that was cool. Wow.
I mean, I was really nervous because you just don't know. And I was really respectful and really, her side of the story was so important. But yeah, when Julie was being pushed out at the end, it's awful. The whole thing was awful. She never made what her male colleagues were making.
Exactly.
She, with the changing of the guard in the late 90s, they wanted the world was going from analog to digital, and Julie was all analog. She was all film and Polaroids and slides and Super 8s, and that's all in the film. We digitized over 10,000 slides for this film. We found them all in her farmhouse. We have over 40,000 Polaroids that I'm going to hopefully make a cocktail table book with. And
oh my God, that's great.
Yeah. So it wasn't great, and she wanted to write a book, and a lot of people wanted to write an exploitative book, a kiss and tell, and that wasn't Julie. So she never got around to writing the book. So that's why I think she was really excited about the documentary, because she saved everything for the book, and I got to put this all in the film for the doc. It was really a gift.
Yeah. Wow.
But you brought out something really important, how do you carry on a person's legacy?
Yeah.
I'm going through that now with, my late husband's work, major.
Oh, yeah.
And major, and nobody seems to care. I have a couple of million slides, way beyond that. I don't even have the time to digitize thing. I edit when I can, and I try and save the stuff from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way up until when he became a lifestyle photographer. But I guess the challenge here is, how did you choose the way to tell her story? Because you have a couple of overlapping themes.
Also with dignity.
Yes, thank you, Tim.
Thank you. It's really hard to string together a story for a film, because in the end, it's a film and you're telling a story. Right. And my classic training in writing, the film has to have a beginning, middle, an end, a forward action. You don't want to bore the audience. You really want to make it about something. So I just, I started chronologically, like telling, just kind of tracing her story. And then I realized, like, the themes I really wanted to tell. Like, I wanted Julie's story. I wanted, the women, these, iconic women whose careers she helped launch. I wanted, I had a theme called building the brand, how, like, I wanted to follow the brand, and how it started as, Sports Illustrated was losing money when they started the swimsuit issue. And then it became the most profitable magazine issue in American publishing history. And, I really wanted to track that and show how, like, and a lot of the writers and Sports Illustrated, I say in the film, was like the New Yorker. It was fabulous, intense, beautifully written articles, sports articles. And they, did deep investigations. And, a lot of the writers resented the swimsuit issue because they, why is the woman in the bathing suit making all the money?
Right, exactly. Why is that getting all the attention?
Yeah, but it was keeping the magazine profitable. So it was really helping the magazine as well. So I really looked at the important themes. And then there was a theme of aging, because we filmed her in her 90s, and she was really facing her own mortality. And she was doing it with such grace and honesty, and the words that would come out of her mouth, like the lines, everything I was filming, I just needed to show, I was learning from her. I was learning, like, how do you face mortality in your 90s? How do you look at life? And I really wanted to, so I look at it as, like, it's a woman's life. It's the life of a woman. It's the beginning, middle, and end, and you get the whole life, really.
But what an impact she made on American society. She really did. That was quite a contribution there.
It was interesting to me how, like many of us, I've seen a lot of documentaries and how they deal with aging. And in particular, it's the old adage about women aging versus men aging. A man in his 60s can find lots of young women, right? That's not something I'm making up. That goes on all the time. In the same age, which I hope to aspire to have a harder time finding, all these young men. But just kidding on that one. But you,
Hey, go for it.
Hey, and then you have to share.
Yeah, thank you. You always encourages the worst behavior in me. The thing that you brought out in that film, she was just filmed so beautifully.
Yeah.
Just
Thank
everything.
you.
Her grace, the way her hair fell, the translucency of her skin. I found myself completely mesmerized by looking at her, and I guess I knew we were looking at her immortality, and I took it upon my own immortality, or for any woman. She was what, 96 when you did her last birthday there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
96 years old
Passed
and
away 6 months after. Yeah.
gorgeous, and just
Yeah.
it was just all there. The language, the way she spoke, that never changed. Her honesty, her authenticity, her knowledge. My God,
I mean, it
captured all of
was,
that.
she was such a woman who, she had so much grace and class and style.
Yeah.
She influenced me my whole life. I met her when I was 20. And as I was doing this film, I realized, and it is really interesting when you don't really realize the effect somebody has on you, and then you really think about it and you're like, I love my mother. My mother was an amazing influencer as well, but Julie really had a big effect on me. And it's funny, like there's one scene in the film that I just loved, and I knew I needed this line when she's, it's towards the end of the film, and she says, she's sitting at the table after we celebrated her birthday with a glass of champagne, and she's like, I always loved coming down the next morning after a party and seeing all the glasses on the table. And she's like, and I think I'll do that tonight.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my God, this is the last line of the film.
Yeah.
Like this
No,
is, this is the beauty of documentary. We didn't set that up. She just
Right.
said that line, and we filmed a moment
Right.
of silence of her just sitting with the glasses. And that was Julie. She loved to entertain. She loved a glass of champagne. She loved a champagne in a crystal glass. She loved, find great olive oil that she found on her trips to, Italy, or, she had there was so much texture to who she was. And it was a gift. She gave me a gift. I wish I could have, there's a Blu-ray out now, and I was able to do 15 more minutes of bonus footage, which I couldn't, I was so excited about.
Kidding, that's great.
Because like you said, like there's so many photos. It was so hard to pick. And as I've gone through photos, I'm like, why? I could have put this one in. It's so hard to choose which one.
And it's difficult to choose when you're finished. Like when to call it, okay, this one is done.
Yeah.
And but now
she gave you that line. She gave you that line to finish
perfect.
the film with.
Perfect. Now, thank you so much for Beyond the Gaze, but you also have a couple other films. You had spoken briefly about Mr. Chibbs, which is the film about NBA legend Kenny Anderson. But also, can you tell us a little bit about your first called Seat 20D?
Yeah, so C20D it follows Sousa Lowenstein, whose son Alex was aboard Pan Am Flight 103, the plane that blew up over Lockerbie, Scotland.
My God.
And he was murdered. And Sousa is an artist, and she lives in Montauk, New York. And basically, in order to get over the grief of losing Alex, she was a sculptor, and she sculpted herself life-size, naked, because she felt she was stripped of everything, in the position she fell when she heard the news of Alex's death. And then she became friendly with all the other mothers that lost children on this flight, and they heard what they were doing, and they all volunteered to model for her.
Wow.
So in the backyard of her property in Montauk is this sculpture garden of, I think it's like 78 naked women in mourning, life size, in the position they fell when they heard the news. And we happened upon it when we were in Montauk, and I filmed her story, and the story is about how she utilized art to help her through grief. and help her get through grief. It took her 15 years. It was one of the hardest films I've ever done, because
I imagine
just talking to women who lost children, and
Mhm.
you know, that it's so raw. And yeah, so
even
that's
even after all these years later,
Yeah,
the pain is
yeah,
still there.
yeah.
it's still there. It's still there. I mean, I think some of the mothers couldn't even watch the film. You know,
Mhm.
Sousa really loved the film, and she was really supportive, and it's available on Canopy and Amazon and Apple, and it's streaming. Yeah.
How
Wow.
do you, as a woman, as a documentarian, handle a lot of this without it ripping at your core? How does one objectively go about shooting something when, you know, there's even parts of this interview where, you know, I'm tearing up. Just
Oh, I love it. I think that makes you a great interviewer. Like, I think it has to rip at your core. I think if it doesn't rip at your core, you don't have anything. And I get way emotionally involved in all my films, but you also have to, you know, you have to remain objective, and
you have to, right. How do you keep the objectivity and move on with what your agenda needs to be?
Yeah, I think it's just like, it's really comes down to story. You know, you have to build so much trust in your collaborators on these films. They're opening up their lives to you. They're sharing deep parts of themselves, and it's really hard. It's super hard, and each film has a different challenge. And I'm always just, you know, my biggest goal is like, you have to know, like, what is the story? Because not everything's a documentary.
Right.
And like when I was in grad school, it was like, well, if it could be told on this local news or on a CNN article, or, you know, then it's not a doc. Like, docs are a very specific type of storytelling. And, you know, that's really important to me, is like, what's a story, and why would an audience want to see this? And as you become seasoned, and you're like, you know, we just played to 30 festivals around the country with this film, and it was in IFC, and it had theatrical premiere and AMC, and, you know, you're sitting in theaters with audiences, and, you know, you're aware if somebody's taking out a cell phone. You're aware if someone's talking. You're aware, like, anytime somebody gets up to leave, I'm like, are they going to the bathroom, or are they just done? You know, like, like, I'm hyper aware and hyper nervous. So, but that also like feeds into your work, because you want to make something that's compelling, that's going to keep people in their seats for an hour and a half, that's going to, you know, that they're going to grow and learn as people, you know.
Well, it's almost like it can be a personal affront on your own artistry. You know, you're right. If they're coughing too much, are they getting up? Right. What part did they get up and walk away? I would be making a note.
Oh man, it's stressful.
Every insecurity you've ever experienced pops up in those moments.
100%. There's times I'm like, on this festival tour, I was like, I just can't do it today. I can't watch it today. I can't handle it. I just can't even, you know, it's very, very personal, but I think that it has to be. It has to be.
Yes.
But at the same time, you have to be objective. You can't create geography. You don't want to create vanity projects. Like with Julie's story, we looked hard at, you know, the objectivity, accusations, body image. I mean, you can't go into everything in one film.
No, you can't. There's just too much. Yeah.
There's so much to explore in that. And I chose, let's just follow Julie's story, and then follow like the themes that are attached to that are very strong, you know, themes.
Well, our incredible guest today is the wonderful documentary filmmaker, Jill Campbell. The name of the film is Beyond the Gaze, Gaze. And you can find out more about this film, which is about your mother-in-law, Julie Campbell. And you can visit juliecampbell.com or Beyond the Gaze Film on Instagram, or also on Instagram, Jill Audrey Campbell. And I believe we have a few viewers.
I also want to shout out to my amazing executive producer and producer, Sharon Shuttleworth, who was my partner in crime, who funded this film, she also got me through emotionally, because she would take calls from me 10 times a day, or texts, or like literally help. Like, that's what you need you need an ally. That's going to be like,
thank you for saying that. Yes,
absolutely. Thank you, Cheryl.
And Rob Lyons too.
Apollo Cabrera says yes.
Hi, Apollo.
Yay, hi.
Suze Genero is a designer in Massachusetts. She's a wonderful dear friend of ours.
Very
Hi. Hello.
Is it Love Lena Bloom?
Yeah, that's Lena, who I'm doing my next film with. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yes. Hi, Lena. How are you?
Hi.
And says, love you,
Thank you.
Jill. And also says such an amazing film. She also commented about that.
She's shown up and for the film amazingly, like has appeared in Q&As. It's been awesome.
Yes. Now our dear friend Rose Trentman says, afternoon greetings, Wendy, Tim, and Jill. Many blessings.
Hi.
Dawn Hinton says, hi guys. So sorry I'm late, but I'm glad you're better late than never. Glad you
and great show. Den Vet is on here. Wonderful interview, guys. Den is an amazing makeup artist. I cheated a little. I sent out to all of my fashionista.
I love it. Hi.
We love this show.
I love it.
Lena Bloom also says, I'm so thankful for people that have protected us in the industry.
Thank you, Lena. Yeah,
yes,
right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Dawn Hinton
and
says,
always
fabulous guest, and which I agree. Den Vetta says, yeah, wonderful interview, guys. And a great show. Thanks so much from Suze. So,
right. And I would love for all of these people to be able to see this film. So what is the best way that they can do that?
So there's a lot of ways. It's on Amazon Prime, it's on Apple TV, it's on YouTube streaming, it's on Canopy. You can watch it if you have Canopy. You can watch it for free. It's going to be on PBS in the PBS 13, so in the tri-state area. It's going to be on DirecTV soon. But if you Google it or you go to our website, juliecampbell.com, we have all the links, like Fandango or YouTube. You'll find it. And and if you like it, definitely rate us on IMDb and Letterboxd. If you don't like it, please don't rate us. Because as I already said, my ego can't handle it.
I think you're doing just fine there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. Again, this of course was my sweet spot, and you took me back to an incredible time. And I love the film. I love the messages in the film. You know, that's what a documentarian can do. We can put out messages out there that will affect people, change their lives, and get them to thinking. And that's a really important thing.
And make them feel.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah.
Sign of a good documentarian.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today as well. We will see you next week. Have a great rest of week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.